Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today, bankrupt once again by Jimmy and Nick. We call him Nick Red because he's the second Nick at our shop. In today's matchup, it is Mechikabura taking on Soul Striker. Like always, just buttons. Feel free to click them there for a reason. But let's get into it, guys.
Cards.
Yeah, very much cards.
I forgot how to do this. It's been a while.
They're happening.
So Nick is playing because you've been playing this for a couple weeks now. It's the equivalent of just good blue Soul Striker, right?
Yeah, indeed.
And Jimmy is playing Mechikabura with the new added stuff, which has gotten. We talked about this past weekend. Like the last 3 sets, it's gotten something. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it got 3 sets of support. Really. It got its original release. Then there was a set of Shroom and Salsas that come out, and then in the Annie box, I'm kind of flashing my hand to the camera there. I have a crazy opening hand, and then just any good black card is also really good in this deck. Like the Mechikabura I just charged, it's a +3 in some situations. Like this deck just gets access to so much, and it's one of those decks that I'm fearing the future of, because it's very similar to Soul Striker or like SS3 Goku, where they really can't print a lot of good cards in its color, because unless they lock it to a specific archetype, this deck is just going to be able to abuse it.
Yeah, and this is one of your original babies too, I think. So like every time supports came through, you've just brought it back out, and it's always done well performing in its performance.
Like the deck has a little bit of everything. It's very toolboxy, which if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know that I really like my toolbox decks. But it can just kind of do anything. You can play against anything. It's just it comes down to your opponent knowing the matchup and playing around what you're able to put on the board, which with the newest support, it's the boards that you can make with this are crazy.
And talk a bit more on Nick real quick. Nick's been coming to our shop, I think, now? It's been 2 months now?
It's probably been longer than that, to be honest with you.
It's been longer than that? Oh, yeah. I mean, you were stuck on, what was it? Josh was you through. What was your... You came in with Hit, I think, originally.
It was Hit Pod, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when I first came back to the game, I was actually on U9.
That's right. Yes, that's right. But you also play under a bunch of other card games, so like this wasn't too big of a transition for you. But you did mention you've played before, so
yeah. Back I used to play the old yellow Broly leader with Super Saiyan 4 Triple Flash, and when the Shigesh was legal.
Yeah, good old Shigesh.
Yeah.
I remember selling you that deck. It was really hard letting go of my my SS4 secret rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I remember buying that from you.
Yeah. Nick is actually one of the 2 guys that introduced me to this game in college. Chase, he's been on the channel a few times. They were playing it at their dorm and was trying to convince me to come in and play it. And I was like, I don't want to play this goofy ass fucking card game. And I did. And then I bought the Mass Saiyan structure deck. And then it's all been downhill from there. That was the point my life got significantly worse. So thank you, Nick, for
oh, no problem, man.
Causing this downward spiral.
Yeah, dude, I remember like when you used to come up to us in like case and like we played this on the spot.
Oh yeah, ain't really doing much on your side of the field. I'm used to you really putting a lot of pressure on turn 2, using, of course, Piccolo the Infiltrator. So seeing that you didn't slam Piccolo immediately, kind of like put me in a really good like headspace of like, okay, like he's definitely going to be on the back foot now, and I can, get the upper hand early, where usually in this matchup we played a lot, and this is this is your deck. So I know when you play this deck how to play against you playing it, and seeing that you didn't have the normal opening you have, it was kind of like a pressure off of me.
I will say it's kind of odd because I feel like the three things that he's charged are good tech to hang on to defensively. It's just like, okay, cool. You may have a very offensive hand, but we're not seeing that right now.
Yeah, honestly, I think the main reason I charge those is, like Soul Striker's turn one is, honestly, besides Peel Off Shumai, I don't think, Pan, I don't think there's any other one drops in the deck. So normally I'm pretty comfortable with like charging my defensive stuff and just letting my opponent take me down to 4.
Plus, like, it's kind of smart to throw Peel Off Shumai down like that because, in all honesty, Mechikabura doesn't have a ton of really good keyword skills baked into their cards. The new 8-drop does have dual attack. The old 8-drop does have double strike, but you're pretty much holding that card for those two specific options. So Peel Off Shumai doesn't really do a ton in this matchup in terms of its skill negation. Its combo kill and draw on your opponent's turn could be really nice, but it's probably not worth holding your hand, potentially charging some another piece that could be more useful. But I mean, I think this really shows how Mechikabura just has so much value off of its battle cards because they're all 1-drops. They all have insane skills. The Shroom that is under the Salsa, the card is incredible. It's a 1-drop, and on swing, it will draw you a card if your opponent has 2 or more cards in the warp, which of course he does. The Z battle card is in the warp, but it's removed from game. We weren't counting that as a card in the warp. And then also on that same swing, it will warp a 7 or less. So it's kind of like a baby thwarting the Dark Empire for 1 energy that you can just slam at any time in this deck. Like, it's a huge piece, and being on a 20k base is just nuts.
Boo Unison's really nice, but Jimmy, don't you have a way of stealing that as well? Like, I mean, I know like Mechikabura is still like on the front side, like 3 or less or 4 or less naturally.
It can steal a 4 or less battle card. The Toa that you see at the top of my drop area right now is actually really huge for dealing with Unison base decks, which of course this deck really only plays Boo Unison. But she says when you play her, you can play her for Xeno Evolve 2, or you could tap 3 for her, or I play the promo Toa that'll allow me to swap into her for free. But she says that your opponent either has to blow up 2 of their battle cards or 2 cards in their hand, or I take control of the Unison, which puts so much pressure, and you can stack those because that effect does not limit 1. So in the case of Boo Unison, you're going to throw 2 cards out of your hand. Like that's just a given. And here I warp off the 17 on Shroom's auto, but if I had a follow-up Toa to throw on the field, that's potentially 4 cards out of hand or 2 cards out of hand, and I get your Unison. So it's really huge for the deck when it goes off, but I actually took those cards out of the deck and moved them to the sideboard because of how little Unisons are used at our local shop.
Yeah, it's like a once in a blue moon thing now. Dude, I just realized 17 is a great negate, but you just popping Mechikabura's effect to just sling the leader 3 times, it just feels dirty, kind of.
And it's all thanks to this Z leader. So at least the way that I like to play Mechikabura back before the support, I would very rarely pop that triple attack effect. I would usually just use it to clear up my opponent's board, but since I have so many ways to deal with a board now, it's like I'll just draw 3 cards for free, and then Z Awaken, and then my last attack is a discard 1, draw 2, and then I get all of the other effects that is on this card. Like this Z leader is so overtuned.
Because he
20k base.
He can steal better cards too, right?
Yeah, you can steal a 5 or less from their warp. And if you have a if you have a 8-drop Meki in play, you can restand that as well off of the same effect.
Yeah, it's a good Z leader. I mean, it really is. Like, I remember when Fluff read the Sin, he's like, "That's okay," but when you read this card, it's like, "This is good. This is just straight up good."
Yeah, like. There's nothing wrong about this Z leader. Like everything about it is fantastic. Like the only kind of thing, and this is just nitpicky, is that you can't like just rip the card from the field. Where the regular leader is a removal effect, where this one steals from the warp, but you can still 5-drop, so that's potentially a higher power that you can steal.
On the standard leader, you have to pitch a card for it, right?
You have to bottom deck. You still have to bottom deck for the Z leader effects as well, but
initially,
it doesn't matter.
One turn, you're stealing 2 of your opponent's battle cards and getting just extra swings out without expending any energy for it.
Exactly, yeah. And you replenish those cards on the backside because it's a discard 1, draw 2. So you're only minusing like once if you don't even tap energy. Like it's kind of wild.
Here, Nick's at 2 life, just holding on. Now, Grant, he still has 4 open energy.
4 open energy and still a proc on the Boo Unison.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, I mean, you were. Was Ginyu double strike? I think one of them was double strike, right?
Ginyu, the Body Snatcher, is a double striker.
Okay, yeah.
So because of how I know Nick plays this deck, he can have very explosive turns just out of nowhere. So I did have the option of playing the new 8-drop Mechikabura on that turn. I had it in my hand. I had the 4 energy, and I still have 2 energy up. But I was trying to bait the -1 on the Boo Unison because I wanted to get every bit of value out of that card instead of it just getting minused and thrown to the bottom of my deck. And then not have energy up and just die to something wild on his turn. Which, as many times I play against this deck, I still forget about this damn Cell.
So it's a good card, but petrification.
Bro, I forgot I played Cell this game.
Yeah, that was a huge Cell. That was huge.
Yeah, and
I think he got petrified though.
Yeah, it's activate main. Is it 4 cards? Like it could have gained triple strike, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's 4. Yeah.
Petrification comes in clutch in this situation.
Yeah. It really, really sucks on that Cell because that activate main restands him as well. So you really want to go for that first critical swing, but it always ends up like that.
Like I didn't want to burn the petrification on. I did the best way you can play petrification is just hold it in your hand and make your opponent think you're going to use it, and then let them play bad around it. But when you see Cell and it's turned sideways at you before proccing effect, you have to burn petrification. Like you can't deal with that resource game.
For open energy, you do play token negates though, so you do have some ways of protection still, even with 3 life.
And I am at base 20 as well, so that helps tremendously.
Question is, do you have anything else, Nick? I don't know what.
this waiting session here, I was making a decision, and here you see the start of the downward spiral. Um, in my opinion, this is what I go for name of hunger
Oh,
here.
okay. Okay, so 821 with Vegito. Give it.
Well, we'll just censor that part. We'll put a big bleep.
Yeah. I assume you're giving the triple strike.
Yeah, and I even like I'm so nervous about it because I even asked Jimmy there. I was like, "How many cards you got in hand?" And I just went for it.
I'm assuming no negates.
Yeah. So
Okay.
No, because I combo out here.
I was sitting there and I was like, really, like, I was like, man, I've done myself in here because I used my sparking negate and tapped energy for it when I could have just sparked it and then still had energy up for another negate in my hand. So I'm kind of sweating here because while I do have a lot of combo power in my hand, I don't know what's in his hand, and he could just drop. I mean, I think he's only used one super combo this game. He could just drop, 3 super combos and then just go hard. But as you see here, like I said, I have some combo power in hand,
and you just need one more card now, I think, and that you're good. Yeah, there it is. Dang. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, what could you have done instead? You could have played 2 Piccos back to back and gotten 4 single strikes attacks, but those super combos protect him. You would give Jimmy possibly additional resources because he probably would have felt more comfortable going down to 2 life than at that point.
Yeah, I don't think it's shown in this game, but I think at this point I do have 3 Darkness Judgments in hand. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's just activate battle, give your leader card +5. So if he went for the dual attacks, I would have just bumped myself up to 25 or even 30 and made him either reduce, send a bunch of resources into it, or just have to pass the turn because he can't get over that. So here I choose to play this Mechikabura with the skill of the 1-drop from the grave.
Which is so good, by the way. Like,
yeah, and the reason I do that is because it gives barrier. So that I wouldn't have to worry about the -1 on Majin Buu. So I think I have him down to 1 card in hand because he warps off a card. And I was absolutely convinced this card was Baby Hatch.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm playing around this idea of he has 1 card in hand. He's going to take this life. He's at 2 life. And then on my next swing, he's just going to Baby Hatch me. And, GG at that point. So I can't remember what was going on here. I think you were debating about blocking with Boo.
This is a double strike, right?
Yeah, I think
this
so.
is dual attack.
Dual attack. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you choose to D-magic here, and that's when I'm like, oh, okay, well, GG. Because
that's
I
fair.
have a big 30k swing. You can block that, but then I can just restand it with my leader and swing again, and then just Fang Greeting. So my original plan is if that card were to be Baby Hatch, you'd pick up the life. I would Fang Greeting, put you back at 1, and swing in, and you have no options at that point.
Yeah, we see at least 2 right there, I think. That's today's video. Thank you all for tuning in. Keep in mind his buttons, links, check them out. Bye.